In 31 BCE, a young man stands on the deck of his warship, watching the waters off Actium turn red with blood. Octavian, soon to be Augustus, has just defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra in the battle that will end Rome's civil wars forever. But as he sails toward Rome with victory assured, he faces a problem that has destroyed every Roman leader before him. How do you rule an empire without becoming a dictator? Julius Caesar tried and died with 23 stab wounds. Mark Antony tried and lost everything to love and ambition. Now it's Octavian's turn, and he's about to attempt something unprecedented, transforming Rome from a war-torn republic into a stable empire that will last 500 years. When Octavian enters Rome in 29 BCE, the city is a disaster. Temples crumble from decades of neglect. Crime runs rampant through streets filled with unemployed veterans. The treasury is empty, the Senate is powerless, and Romans have lost faith in their gods, their government, and their future. But Octavian has learned from Caesar's mistakes. Instead of demanding a crown, he'll give himself a new title. Augustus, meaning the revered one. Instead of ruling as a dictator, he'll claim to restore the republic while quietly concentrating all power in his hands. Instead of conquering new territories, he'll focus on rebuilding what Rome already has. The question is, can one man's reforms save an empire on the brink of collapse? The answer will reshape the ancient world and create the template for every empire that follows. On January 13, 27 BCE, Augustus performs the greatest political theater in history. Standing before the Roman Senate, he dramatically announces that he's giving up all the extraordinary powers granted to him during the civil wars. He's restoring the republic. The senators can have their authority back. The senators sit in stunned silence. Then, as if on cue, they leap to their feet and beg him to reconsider. How can Rome survive without his leadership? Surely he must accept even greater powers to save the state. After appropriate hesitation, Augustus graciously accepts their pleas and allows them to grant him Maius Imperium, supreme authority over all governors and armies. This masterpiece of political manipulation gives Augustus everything he wants while making it look like the Senate's idea. He receives tribunician powers for life, allowing him to convene the Senate, propose laws, and veto any decision. He becomes princeps, first citizen, a humble title that disguises absolute power. Most importantly, he avoids the word dictator, the title that got Julius Caesar killed. But Augustus faces a delicate balancing act. He must appear to respect republican traditions while systematically dismantling them. The Senate keeps its ceremonies and honors, but Augustus controls all real decisions. Popular assemblies continue to meet, but they only vote on measures Augustus approves. Consuls are still elected, but Augustus holds the office repeatedly until 23 BCE. The genius lies in the gradual nature of these changes. Romans wake up each day thinking they still live in a republic, not realizing that power has been slowly, quietly concentrated in one man's hands. By the time they understand what's happened, Augustus has been ruling for decades, and most can't remember life any other way. This political revolution disguised as restoration will become the model for every successful authoritarian takeover in history. The key isn't seizing power, it's making people believe you're saving them while you do it. Augustus believes Rome's real problem isn't political, it's moral. In 18 BCE, he shocks the empire by passing the most intrusive laws in Roman history, targeting the private lives of citizens with unprecedented government control. The Lex Julia de Adulteriis makes adultery a criminal offense punishable by exile. The Lex Julia de Maritandis Ordinibus penalizes unmarried men and childless couples with special taxes. These aren't just moral reforms, they're demographic engineering. Augustus has done the math. Rome needs more citizens, especially from the upper classes who provide military officers and administrators. The civil wars killed hundreds of thousands of Romans, and Augustus fears the empire will collapse from population decline if citizens don't start having more children immediately. The laws create bizarre contradictions. Unmarried men over 25 face inheritance taxes and are barred from attending public games. Childless couples can't receive large bequests from non-relatives, but men who father children receive tax breaks and priority for political offices. The government literally pays people to reproduce. Opposition erupts immediately. Wealthy Romans stage protests, arguing that the state has no right to dictate their private relationships. Some senators marry and divorce repeatedly to circumvent the laws. Others adopt children to qualify for benefits without actually raising families. But the most embarrassing contradiction comes from Augustus himself. Despite demanding that others marry and have children, he and his wife Livia remain childless throughout their marriage. His only child, Julia, becomes a symbol of the law's failures when she's exiled for adultery, a violation of her father's own legislation. The moral reform campaign reveals Augustus's essential character. He's willing to use any means necessary to strengthen Rome, even if it means micromanaging citizens' bedrooms. Privacy, personal choice, and individual freedom are acceptable casualties in his quest to rebuild the empire. In 12 BCE, Augustus achieves his ultimate political goal. He becomes Pontifex Maximus, Rome's chief priest. Now he controls not just the empire's politics and military, but its relationship with the gods themselves. This isn't just religious authority. It's the power to determine divine will and interpret omens that guide state policy. Augustus understands that Romans have lost faith in their traditional gods during the chaos of civil war. Temples lie in ruins, festivals have been abandoned, and many citizens have turned to foreign religions or philosophical schools that reject Roman traditions entirely. Religious revival becomes essential to his broader program of moral and political restoration. In his first year as emperor, Augustus rebuilds or repairs 82 temples across the empire. The Temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill receives magnificent renovations, while the new Temple of Apollo next to Augustus's residence on the Palatine becomes a symbol of divine favor. The Forum of Augustus features the massive temple of Mars altar, celebrating the god who gave Augustus victory over Caesar's assassins. But Augustus's masterpiece is the Ara Pacis Augusti, the altar of Augustan peace, dedicated in 9 BCE. This marble monument depicts Augustus as the bringer of peace, surrounded by imagery linking him to both Roman traditions and divine approval. Subtle but unmistakable religious messaging suggests that Augustus enjoys special favor from the gods. The emperor reinstitutes ancient festivals like the secular games in 17 BCE, spectacles that haven't been celebrated for over a century. These massive public events featuring gladiator games, chariot races, and theatrical performances serve multiple purposes. They entertain the masses, demonstrate imperial wealth, and reinforce traditional religious practices. Yet Augustus walks a careful line. He accepts quasi-divine honors in the provinces, where ruler worship is common, but resists deification in Rome itself. He knows that claiming to be a god would trigger the same backlash that destroyed Julius Caesar. Instead, he positions himself as the god's special agent, the man they've chosen to restore Rome's greatness. Augustus inherits an empire on the verge of bankruptcy. Decades of civil war have drained the treasury, disrupted trade, and created economic chaos across the Mediterranean. His solution involves the most comprehensive financial reform in ancient history, creating systems so effective they'll fund the Roman Empire for the next 300 years. The emperor begins with a complete overhaul of taxation. He implements regular censuses throughout the empire, the first systematic population counts in world history, to ensure fair and accurate tax assessment. A new poll tax and land tax replace the chaotic collection methods of the Republic, providing steady, predictable revenue streams. Augustus revolutionizes currency by standardizing coins across the empire and ensuring his image appears on every piece. This isn't just vanity, it's sophisticated economic propaganda. Every transaction reminds citizens of imperial authority, while standardized weights and measures facilitate trade from Britain to Syria. The central treasury in the Temple of Saturn becomes linked to provincial treasuries through an imperial financial network that rivals modern banking systems. Augustus can now move money quickly to fund military campaigns, public works, or disaster relief anywhere in the empire. This financial integration makes possible the administrative unity that holds the diverse empire together. But the real innovation lies in Augustus's approach to spending. Rather than hoarding wealth like Eastern kings, he invests constantly in infrastructure, public works, and popular entertainment. The empire becomes a massive economic stimulus program, with imperial spending creating jobs, improving transportation, and demonstrating the benefits of Roman rule to conquered peoples. The emperor also establishes the aerarium militare, a special treasury for veteran benefits, funded by inheritance taxes and auction duties. This creates the world's first systematic military pension system, ensuring that soldiers have incentives to serve loyally while providing for their retirement. The financial security transforms the Roman army from a collection of temporary militias into a professional force with long-term commitment to imperial success. Augustus makes a promise that becomes legend. "I found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble." This isn't poetic exaggeration. It's a literal description of the most ambitious urban renewal project in ancient history. Between 27 BCE and 14 CE, Augustus transforms Rome from a chaotic, crime-ridden city into the marble showcase of world empire. The statistics are staggering. Augustus divides Rome into 14 administrative districts, each with its own supervisor responsible for public safety, sanitation, and fire prevention. He establishes the Vigils, the world's first organized fire department, with over 600 slaves trained in firefighting techniques. The cohorts urbani become Rome's first police force, maintaining order in a city approaching 1 million inhabitants. Infrastructure receives massive investment. Augustus builds the Aqua Julia and Aqua Virgo aqueducts, ensuring reliable water supply for the growing population. New roads connect the capital to distant provinces, while relay stations with fresh horses and supplies enable rapid communication across the empire. The cursus publicus, the imperial postal system, allows messages to travel from Rome to Britain in just 40 days. Public buildings demonstrate imperial grandeur on an unprecedented scale. The theater of Marcellus accommodates 15,000 spectators, while the renovated Circus Maximus holds 250,000 people for chariot races. New basilicas, porticos, and forums provide spaces for commerce, legal proceedings, and public gatherings. Every structure uses the finest marble from northern Italy, creating a visual unity that proclaims Roman superiority. But Augustus's urban planning serves deeper purposes than mere beautification. The building projects provide employment for thousands of workers, reducing unemployment and potential unrest. The magnificent public spaces reinforce social hierarchies through carefully designed seating arrangements that display status differences. The architectural program communicates imperial ideology through symbolic imagery that celebrates Augustus's achievements and divine favor. The emperor also addresses practical urban problems with characteristic efficiency. Grain distribution systems prevent famine, while public baths and latrines improve sanitation. Gardens and parks provide green spaces in the crowded city. Street cleaning and waste removal make Rome more livable than any ancient city had ever been. After 45 years of rule, Augustus dies in his bed in 14 CE, a fate that eluded almost every Roman leader of his era. His final words reportedly echo his theatrical nature. "Have I played my part well in the comedy of life? but the performance was no comedy. Augustus created the Roman Empire, established the Pax Romana, and built governmental systems that will survive for centuries after his death. The emperor's reforms succeeded because they addressed real problems with practical solutions. The political settlement provided stability after decades of civil war. The financial system created prosperity that benefited conquered peoples as well as Romans. The urban improvements made life better for millions of citizens. The military reforms secured borders that had been constantly threatened. Yet Augustus's legacy remains complex and controversial. He created peace by concentrating all power in one person's hands, ending the Roman Republic forever. His moral legislation invaded private life in ways that would be unthinkable in modern democracies. His religious policies manipulated popular beliefs for political purposes. His building projects required massive taxation and forced labor. The Roman historian Tacitus offers a harsh judgment. Augustus seduced the army with bonuses, and his cheap food policy was successful bait for civilians. Indeed, he attracted everybody's goodwill by the enjoyable gift of peace. Then he gradually pushed ahead and absorbed the functions of the Senate, the officials, and even the law. But Tacitus writes after Augustus's reforms have been operating for a century, when their benefits are obvious to everyone. The emperor created prosperity, security, and stability on a scale the Mediterranean world had never experienced. Trade flourished, cities grew, arts and literature reached new heights, and ordinary people enjoyed opportunities unimaginable under the chaotic republic. Augustus's true achievement lies not in any single reform, but in demonstrating that effective government requires systematic solutions to interconnected problems. Political stability depends on financial security. Economic prosperity requires infrastructure investment. Social order needs both carrots and sticks. Military strength must be backed by administrative efficiency. The lessons remain relevant today. How do societies balance freedom and security? When is strong leadership worth the sacrifice of democratic participation? Can governments solve social problems through legislation, or do deeper cultural changes require different approaches? Augustus faced these eternal questions and provided answers that shaped Western civilization for the next 2 millennia. What do you think was Augustus's most important innovation? His political theater that maintained republican forms while concentrating power, or his systematic approach to solving interconnected social and economic problems? Let us know in the comments, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.